Hey everybody, welcome to Linkcast. I'm your host, Matt.
I'm Drew.
I'm Jake.
And yes, there's actually a new person on the podcast. Again, we're like rotating people. So Nate and Tyler are off this week. We have our guest, Jake, who runs the YouTube channel, Jake at Linux. And we're going to talk about some of his favorite topics tonight. And it's going to be awesome. We're going to have a good time. But before we do, we have a mini topic to break the ice, as we usually do. So in this week's is our favorite bash scripts. So we're going to talk about, these should be bash scripts that you've personally written and are very proud of. So if you have one, two, whatever you want to share, you can. So Drew, why don't you go ahead and go first? So you're right next to me.
Wow. Let's narrow it down to just one.
Yeah.
There's so many that I just
for the record, this has been in the notes for like 4 or 5 days. So you've had chance.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time. All right. So you know what's funny is I think probably one of my first bash scripts, like how to install Discord without using the Debian file, which because it was like really, really stinking bad using the Debian file when you're on Debian, and it shouldn't be that way. So I just wrote a bash script that helped me to install Discord using the binary like really fast. And every time I have to update it, I just run the same thing. I put it in my path and boom, it just does the whole thing over again. It's not that intricate. I've written a lot better scripts, but that's the one that kind of like made me think, this is how you automate things and make things nice for yourself. So that's the one I'm going to pull today.
Cool. Jake, what about you? What's your favorite bash script that you've ever written?
Well, like my children, there's so many of them. I would have to say I kind of narrowed it down to be between two of them, and I think I'm going to have to go with my FZFM script. I've done a couple videos on it over on my channel, but it's basically a terminal file manager because we need more of those, right? But it is made out of FZF and uses the Kitty terminal. You can use it in any terminal emulator, but it uses Kitty because you can use the iCat kitten to preview images. It's got a nice preview pane. You can scroll up and down. You can scroll the preview pane. You can copy, paste, move files, create directories. It's been a project that's not quite done yet, and it's constantly something that needs to be done on it because there's always somebody commenting or leaving me a message saying, hey, how about having this functionality? So it's going to be a work in progress for a long time, but it's probably the one I've spent the most time and most effort on.
Cool. Your guys are more interesting than mine. The one that I'm going to choose. So for whatever reason, the audio sync number on Hyperland and Wayland changes for me every time I come back to my computer for whatever reason. I don't know why. It's always a different sync number. Mm-hmm. And in order for my key bindings to work, you have to have the sync number appropriately. And every time I come back to my computer, my key bindings for volume don't work. So I wrote a script that basically it checks to see what number I'm on and the one that I need with the proper device, and it will then take that number, put that into my Hyperland configuration file so that my key bindings for volume will still work. That took me ages because it required a ton of freaking regex. And if anybody watched my stream last week while I was trying to figure out regex, I ended up asking AI, by the way, because I'm so bad at it. But I figured this out on my own, and it took me forever. I'm talking like days. I avoid regex with a plague basically since then. It's so bad. They're making fun of the lack of facial hair in the chat. They're not even paying attention. They're just going to talk about this the whole time. All right. Anyways, that's my favorite bash script. But like you guys, it's really hard to actually choose just one. Yeah, we have so many. Let me ask you guys this question. Do you put all of your scripts in path or just some?
I don't.
No?
I mean, the ones that I'm going to like use repetitively, yeah, I guess so. But a lot of things are like even specific to a window manager. Let's say, for example, like I could have used my help script, which is a key binding for some of the window managers that I've been working on. So like a BSPWM help script parses XXHKD and then exports that to Rofi so that you can see what the key bindings are. You can't do the same thing for DWM, or Awesome already has one built in. So that's really good. But I wrote one for Qtile. It's parsing all that that Python code and it spits out. So, no, I don't, that's not an update type script. That's one that just sits there and works for one specific process. So it just works with one window manager.
Jake, what about you? Do you put all your stuff in Path or just the choosy stuff?
I did. I basically just had my scripts directory in my path, and anything that was in that was basically executable on, from anywhere. But I've actually slowly started getting rid of my scripts directory. I'm being a little more intentional about having my each individual project in its own directory, so that way I can have different repos on my GitHub and GitLab, which desperately needs maintenance. But hey, I'm working on a Git maintenance script, so once that's done, then I can maintain my Git repo. No, I did used to. A lot of them are still there, but I'm going away from that now, and just kind of, as Drew said, the ones that are commonly used, no matter what window manager I'm on, those ones I keep in Path. The rest of them, no.
Okay, so I'm the only one that does it. Apparently, I put all. Granted, I don't put them there. I do something even better. Worse. Probably, I symlink all of them to a path, so that if I make a change, it gets updated or whatever. But they're not actually there. So yeah, I have, and it's stupid because like I'd say there's at least 10% of the ones that are in my repository that are literally just echoing out nerd font icons for a DWM bar. That's literally all they do is echo that out so I can put them in status 2D or whatever. And those definitely do not need to be in Path anymore. Like I don't use DWM. There's ones for i3 in there. I'm pretty sure there's one for BSPWM in there. Oh, granted fact, I know there is. I stole, Jake, your the script you wrote to create scratch pads on BSPWM. I stole that, and that's in there now in my Path right now. So
well, you can't there. Steal what's free.
Fine, I stole it, and then I probably made a video about it. Actually,
so Matt, so if you symlink everything, if you had to take a guess, how many symlinks do you think you've got pointing all over your system?
No clue. Innumerable, incountable. Because I do all of my configuration files are done that too. I have a repository for all my stuff, and I symlink all of it to the config files. So, I am more choosy on those. So I don't put Awesome Window Manager or any of the stuff I don't use as symlinks into my config file because I want that to be nice. But the Path stuff, I never go into there, so I don't care how messy it is. But I do have some amazing. My scripts directory does need cleaning out. There's some stuff in there that just is never ever going to be used. Some of it's not finished. And given the fact that I do have somewhat of a following, that people do follow me on GitLab or whatever, the fact that I share scripts that would probably break your computer because they're like half finished, I probably should fix that. Do not pipe my scripts to bash, okay? Is what I'm trying to say. No sudo pipe to bash is not what that's not what you should do with any of my scripts.
Matt has something in his GitLab that just says use at your own risk. Just don't do it. Just don't.
Yes. Definitely don't use any of my stuff. It's not good stuff. All right. Anyway, at least without reading it first, because you never know. I might have mislabeled that crap. I'm just saying it's been known to happen. All right. So we're going to go ahead. So tonight we're going to do something a little bit weird because usually we just have one topic, but today we have two topics that we're going to kind of touch on. And that's because, Jake, your channel is kind of focused on these two topics. Or at least recently, you've been talking a lot about Void over the last couple of years, and you talk about window managers a lot. So we're going to talk about Void, and we're going to talk about window managers. So we're going to do Void Linux first, and I have the least amount of notes about this because Void didn't like me, and I couldn't get it installed. So, and that's not a new thing. It just doesn't like it. It's never liked me. So I guess the question I have for you, Jake, is why Void? What makes Void your distro?
Well, I started out as a Linux Mint guy when I was switching over. Typical, I'm coming from Windows. And to be honest with you, when I actually started using Linux, I actually Googled, because I was looking at stuff. I had no clue what it was. I knew nothing about it. I was like, and I saw the, different names and I was like, okay, well, what's better? Because I saw Ubuntu everywhere. Every time I Googled Linux, Ubuntu would come up. And so I actually Googled what's better, Linux or Ubuntu. And I was like, oh, well, so I installed Ubuntu, but loaded that up and saw that nice orange and purple and about threw up in my mouth and said, yeah, I can't use that because,
You don't
I
like
wasn't,
aubergine?
I wasn't aware of how much customization you could do. Anyway, I'll make this story short. So then I switched over to Mint because it had the Cinnamon desktop, which is still by far, if I'm using a desktop environment, my favorite. It was just so much easier, closer to Windows. The UI is real similar, so it was easy transition for me in there, and I just liked it. Used that for a while, then I jumped to Arch because why not? You see all the videos and people are like, oh, if you can install Arch. And so I was like, I bet I could do that. Tried it the first time, didn't install, went back over, kind of thought, what did I do? Figured, well, let's try it again. Did it, got it installed just fine. Ran Arch for a while, then ran Arco for a while after discovering DT and Arco Linux and seeing all that stuff. So I ran Arco for a while, then switched back to regular Arch. Ran Arch for a long time, and then decided to do kind of what you're doing with OpenSUSE right now and do a long-term review, and wanted to do something different, something, because you see people on Arch, you see people on Debian, you see people on Fedora, you see people on, all these distros, but Void didn't really have much out there. And to be honest with you, I don't even remember where I actually came across Void. I think I might have just been looking on DistroWatch or something, and just kind of looked at it and stuff and thought, well, this is kind of different. Nobody else has anything out there, so I'll do a long-term review on Void. And man, from the minute I installed it and how fast it was just amazing. And I was like, this is unbelievable. The boot time on it was literally maybe a tenth of what it took for Arch to boot for me. And I mean, it was literally, you would log in and bam, it was up. And I was like, this is crazy. XBPS was just lightning fast. It was faster than Pac-Man in my experience. And just everything about it was just super snappy. Yeah, there's less packages, obviously. That's, I think, people's biggest complaint about Void is, the package. Oh, they don't have as many packages and they don't have the AUR and all this. But, that hasn't been a hindrance at all. The fact that Void is so fast and it is so stable, even though it's more towards the rolling end, it's not quite as bleeding edge as Arch or something like that. But it's not, held back. It's not an LTS. It's not like Ubuntu. It's not, it's pretty well, not bleeding edge, but it's real close. But it's super stable. In the several years I've been running it now, I've had one crash on it that was my fault, and other than that, everything has run flawlessly. Even when I let it sit forever and I have 100 updates and I run it, nothing, no issues whatsoever. I mean, it is just a super fast, rock solid distro, and that long-term review just turned into me jumping from Arch and never looking back.
So, Drew, you managed to actually install this thing. What was your initial impressions of it?
Well, I mean, it's not your typical install. It's not going to use calamares or something like. You got to go through the process. It's not, and to Void's credit, I think that their instructions and their wiki is pretty good. Their documentation is very good. You're gonna end up going in and cherooting and setting up your hard drives and doing your own manual partitioning using CFdisk or whatever, and it ends up with a very, very clean and a very clean install. The thing that I had one problem, and that was when I installed Firefox, it would not open. And it was because the .cache directory was owned by root. And I don't know why that was. It's definitely a me issue. So once I changed the user from root to Drew, everything worked perfectly, And so I don't know what I did wrong, but regardless, when you are installing using their package manager, it's very fast and it's actually super impressive to me, especially from someone that appreciates the stability that Jake is talking about, as well as kind of newer packages. Like I know that like I was able to install Genie, for example, and not just Genie, but Genie, like the newest version of Genie, and it worked perfectly. So all of that was very impressive to me. I liked it. I mean, I dig it. No question.
So my experience with Void has not been good, but I think all of it is user error. I'm just not. My first attempt was when I was much more of a noob than I am now, and it's just not a noob installer. Like I had no experience outside of like calamari's, right? So it wasn't really all that surprising that I couldn't get installed. One time that I did get installed and used it for a while, I had dbus problems with stuff. So I
Yep.
had dbus
That's actually
problems.
yeah. I
Yeah,
remember
so
that as well.
I never really got that figured out. That was when I was less patient. When I was very much the kind of Linux user that if something was going wrong, I'll try to fix it for about 15 minutes. If I can't get it fixed in 15 minutes, I'm going to distro hop. Now, I've used OpenSUSE now for 2 years. I'm hoping that I'm much more patient. We'll find out in July when I figure out something else. Maybe I'm just the same and got lucky with OpenSUSE. I don't know. But besides that, I've always had a hard time getting installed on hardware for whatever reason. I think it's my specific hardware just doesn't care for that much. I will say that during the times that I have been able to use it, I was impressed with the package manager in that it was really, really fast. I don't really remember ever having an issue where there wasn't a package that I wanted to install, because usually I install the stuff.
Yeah.
So, but usually the esoteric stuff that I'm gonna end up downloading eventually happens later in my usage. So like a year into it, I might find like Yazi or something. Like if I wanted to go use Yazi, like Yazi is not in the OpenSUSE repositories, right? It's just not. Maybe it is now. I don't know. But when it first came out, it just wasn't there. You couldn't find it on the Open Build service even. So things like that. I mean, that just happens. Like that's an every distro problem. Like Yazi's still not in the Debian repositories. It's not, so it's
Shocking.
it'll get there in a couple of years. Give it some time. But anyways, like that's just so that stuff never really bothered me. Like if I need to, I'll just build it from source. Like I can do that. So that never really bugged me. So
Don't worry, Drew. Your grandkids will be able to use Yazi on Debian.
Next year? Yeah. Okay.
All right. So my next
Great grandkids.
great. Oh, he's missed the opportunity to say not old, just stable. Anyways, my next question is, who do you, if you were to write down who you think Void is for, Jake, who would you recommend Void to? Like, is this plop on your mom's computer type distro, or is it, more of a Gentoo users type distro?
Well, Matt, you're asking the wrong guy, because I am a believer, and I've said it before, and everybody's going to groan when I say this, and I stole it from our good old friend Chris Titus, that, distribution doesn't matter. I think distributions are for anybody. I don't think it's the distribution that is beginner or intermediate or advanced. I think it's the user. I think if you are a capable person, if you have the aptitude to be able to read directions and follow instructions, I think any distro is for anybody. Would I put Void on a brand new user's computer? Sure. Would I recommend they do it? Absolutely, but under the caveat that, hey, can you follow directions? Like Drew said, if you walk through the wiki and on the install process, everything's pretty straightforward. Maintenance on it is nothing. I mean, like I said, it's so stable that every time I update, I haven't had a single issue. So as far as who's it for, it's for anybody. I think the people that are going to appreciate it the most are the ones who want a really light system. They want something that's stable, but still got some of the latest packages, and they want something that doesn't have the bloat that is systemd. I don't have any beef with systemd. That's not why I choose to run Void Linux, because it's systemd free. I do love run it, but I think if I was to say who is Void for, actually, I think it's the person who has a specific taste, something they want that's not in all the other mainstream distros, but something that's going to be fast and not abandoned in a month or two. Something that's going to be around and is going to work for them for long term, but isn't your typical distro.
Have you had any issues coming from the fact that you don't have systemd? Like during your time using it, have you ever come across a situation where you needed an application, something that absolutely required systemd, or you just been perfectly happy with run it?
I haven't had any systemd issues. Nothing that I have installed has screamed about systemd. There's nothing that I literally have completely forgot about systemd. So that hasn't been an issue. And to be fair, everything that Void makes is obviously systemd free. That it's not going to require it. That when the packages are built, that's another thing about Void is the package maintenance from the Void team is. It's amazing. I mean, even as far as the Void source packages, which is akin to the AUR, there's oversight and there's maintenance on these. So it's not just a bunch of Billy Bob hacked together a build template and put it out there for everybody to use and it breaks everybody's system, doesn't have the dependencies or whatever. You have to submit all this stuff through the Void maintainers. You can build your own templates and host your own templates, no problem. Put them on GitHub, people can use them, whatever. But to actually have it in the official source repository, it's maintained by the Void devs. And so they're very picky about what goes in and make sure it's going to work, make sure it's maintained, make sure it's not going to be abandoned in a month when, something shiny shows up and their attention's drawn elsewhere. The guys from Void are very good about the maintenance of the system and the maintenance of the packages and making sure everything works.
Do you have issues at all with, let's say, peripherals like printers or scanners and stuff? Or do you even do you do that? Do you have printers and scanners hooked up to I think you use laptops, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I have no issues. My cameras, my microphones, everything's worked. Printers work. That printer at work, my Epson printer that I have here at home doesn't like to communicate, but it didn't like to work with Arch. It didn't like to work with, what else did I have it on? Artix. I don't think Epson really plays well in general with the EcoTank printer really plays well in general with Linux, but that's the only thing I've had any type of struggle with. And I had it working for a little bit. There was a guy out there that made a script for it that, I don't know, worked some magic under the hood. I did the thing I always tell everybody else not to, and I ran a script without going through and checking it out first just to see if it would work because I was frustrated, and it worked for a while and then it stopped. So, but my system didn't blow up, and as far as I know, all my data is not out there somewhere, which, well, actually it is because I have a Google phone, but
Do you have any other questions, Drew, about Void? Because
No, like I said, I was, it was a pleasure. It was a long process in its installation, because especially from a first time. If probably Jake can get on there and probably install the thing in like no time at all. But for me, it took a while, just because I didn't want to make mistakes as I was going along. But overall, it works. Once it was installed, I installed BSPWM actually, and it worked perfectly with my configuration for BSPWM and everything. Dunst, Rofi, all the other stuff that goes with it was solid as rock. So good experience.
So you installed through command line. You didn't use the Void installer, right?
Oh no, yeah, it's command line.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. The Void installer is there as well. It's basically just a ncurses type installer.
Oh, okay.
When you log in, you open a terminal and type sudo void installer, and it pops up a bunch of dialog boxes. You walk through and select everything just like you would on the Arch installer, whatever. Okay. And it's the only thing you have to do manually is when you get to the partition section, it opens CF disk for you, and you manually partition that way. But yeah, there's a super friendly first time user installer as well.
I must have missed that one.
But they've actually made some improvements to it since last time. I've got that on my list of videos to do because I do so much video recording now. my release cycle sucks.
You are fitting in with friends. I have a couple more questions here about Void. Then, are there any, over the times you've used it, have there been any problems? I mean, are there any problems that you had that stand out that you'd like to share? I'm assuming it hasn't been an absolute perfect experience. Something has to have gone wrong. It's Linux. So is there anything that's gone wrong that you can think of that you'd like to share?
Well, I'll kind of answer your problem that you were having with dbus. I did struggle with dbus for a little bit at the beginning, but I did find that in your .desktop file for like your session manager, so like if you're running Hyperland, your hyperland.desktop or your dwm.desktop, for logging in, under the exec line in there, before you put exec user local bin dwm, you put dbus run session, and that fires dbus off right there for you before it boots in, and then dbus is up and going. You have no issues with it. That was one thing I struggled with for a while. The one thing that does, I guess I don't struggle with it. It's not a me thing. It's a Void thing. So I will say there's one downside about Void is when they're doing a major update on things, and you try to do an update and everything, it obviously doesn't let you. You can go to my website and click on a link you can go to the BuildBot site that'll show you what's going on. Sometimes it takes quite a while, sometimes up to a day or two for them to finish all that so you can actually update and or install anything or anything like that. It won't let you do anything until everything's done and passed all their tests and everything, which again is kind of an annoyance, but it's good because, like I said, the maintenance on their packages and everything, they're so concerned about making sure that everything works and nothing is going to cause an issue, that they just take that extra time to do that. And sometimes you get a little impatient, and but it is what it is. But those are probably the two biggest things. I guess Pipewire, when I first installed Pipewire on it, I had an issue with that. I didn't even want to install Pipewire, but I think I decided to try Hyperland. And so I had to install Pipewire. So the first time I did that was a bit of a headache, but eventually it worked itself out, and I don't know what I did, but it started working. And I did have the same issue as you, though, on Hyperland with the stupid audio, the sync or whatever changing, and it's like, that just annoyed the crap out of me.
I actually had to go back to Pulse to get some of my stuff to work. I had to go back to Pulse audio.
On Void, you had to go back to Pulse? Yeah, Pulse definitely worked better right out of the box. It took me a bit to set up Pipewire, but hey, I got a video on Pipewire now, so if you want to
Drew says,
just go ahead and give it a thumbs up when you go over there, right?
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Drew says, I will use Pipewire someday.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Never gonna happen, right?
My install scripts for all the DWM and blah blah blah, they all have Pipewire. So
okay. Actually, now I'm curious as to why.
Because it's new. And if I'm gonna do something on Debian, it's got to be bleeding edge on Debian, Matt. You know what I'm saying?
I thought your answer was because other people would want it. Yeah.
That's probably it.
All right. So last question, Jake. What would it take for you to leave Void? Is there something is there something shiny out there that could draw your eye away?
Well, I think the one thing that I have been eyeballing for the past probably year and a half now. For a while there, I thought Nix would be kind of cool to go play around in, and then I did and realized it's not. But then Gentoo has always been one I've wanted to actually live in for a while, but I don't have the time to mess around with it right now. I installed it one time, but it was in a VM. I did a video on it just because Josh Lee and his every video I made was, this isn't a Gentoo video. And so I finally made the Gentoo video, and
I'm convinced that 90% of the people who use Gentoo started because Josh told them they had to.
But in all honesty, I would love to sit down and actually run Gentoo on hardware just to check it out. I mean, it used to be Arch is if you install Arch, you're, this and that and the other thing. And I never understood that, just because I didn't have an issue installing Arch. It seemed to me that Gentoo would be way more difficult and way more of a feather in your cap to install and run Gentoo, and that would be the bragging rights. But I obviously don't want to even do it for bragging rights. I just want to check it out. I want to see how much all that extra work, where is there enough of a reward to make it worth it?
Let's go ahead then and move on to our second topic, which is window managers. And Drew and I are much more, granted, Drew, you did a good job on Void. I wasn't able to get installed, but we're much more intense in terms of the window manager thing. We know our window managers. So we're going to talk about window managers now. So the first question has got to be, what's your favorite one? And if your answer's, I was going to think of a bad one, but I can actually think of a bad window manager, to be honest with you. I was going to say, if it's that, you can't be on the show anymore, but there's nothing on there.
I'm going to anticipate Jake's. But and I'll let you know.
Write it down on an envelope and then hold it up after I say, and we'll see if you got this right, because you might have me down. You might have me down.
If it was if it was back when you were doing your list of videos, your list of window manager videos, probably could have gotten it easier then. All right. So what's your favorite window manager? Let's see if Drew got you right.
My favorite window manager is, and will be until I don't know when, because everything I've tried has just fallen short of it, is going to be Herbst. Good old Herbie. Look at that. There you go.
You're known.
Now, I'm not using it right now because I'm checking out Nuri, because I'm seeing what the Wayland life is like. But Herbst Lift is definitely, hands down, has been and will be my favorite window manager.
Another question, just follow up related to that. Why? Like what for?
Just the extensibility of it. It's basically a bash script for a configuration file, and I can make it do whatever the heck I want to make it do. I can build scratch pads for it. I made it so when I launch Rofi, it doesn't launch on top of my windows. It slides my windows out of the way and launches Rofi as its own window next to it, so it doesn't overlap. And there's just so much that I can do with it just because it is. I love bash scripting. I love writing bash, and I can just sit down and, oh, I want this functionality on Herbslift. Let me write it up real quick. Okay, there it is. It doesn't come, it's a manual tiler, so you only have certain layouts. It doesn't have master and stack. So what I do, go in there, go find the spot in the source code, and I built master and stack into it. So now I have a fork of Herbslift that now has master and stack for me. It's just, you can just go in. Same reason people like DWM, because you can build it. You can just make it how you want it. But I know Bash a lot better than I know any type of C, so it's just easier for me. And it's just always been, again, never had any issues with it. So back to that stable thing, it's stable. It works. It's been around for a long time, and I was really disappointed when I read that they weren't going to be supporting Wayland with it, but now somebody has informed me that they definitely possibly are. So if that's the case, then yeah, I'll be happy about that. So
Drew, I've asked you this question. But what's your favorite window manager at the moment?
Today?
Yeah, today.
Today? So, okay, I'm looking at Qtile right now. It's the latest thing that I've done is Qtile and the configuration for Qtile. It's really stinking good. I don't know that I can say it's my favorite, but if you're asking me what I'm using right now and am enjoying, yeah, it's Qtile. If we had this conversation about a month or so ago, Matt, where it's like, if you had one window manager, you're on a desert island and there will be no more. I said BSPWM, and I probably am sticking to that. So yeah, that's my first love is BSPWM. But right now I'm digging the Qtile.
Okay. So asking Matt what his favorite window manager is
Qtile.
Probably. You see, I want to say it is Qtile. It is Qtile. Like it has
Xmonad.
It is not Xmonad.
It's definitely not Xmonad.
Haskell is terrible. I would rather live in a Lua script for the rest of my life than ever.
No, I'll take Haskell over Lua any day.
No, not me. Too many weird symbols. But anyways, Qtile is the answer. But Hyperland is on the periphery, and it's never going to get the first place spot, and because of the bar situation. At least at the moment, the bar situation on Hyperland is just not good. Waybar is atrocious. And I know people are like, "Oh, Waybar is really good." Okay, Waybar is not really good. All you have to do is go to Unix porn and see that everybody's Waybar looks exactly the same to understand why Waybar is bad, because everybody has to use that because nobody knows what CSS is, and nobody knows what version of CSS Waybar is actually using. They don't use all of CSS, so you can't use things like width or height or any of that stuff. It just doesn't, it's not in the scope. So Hyperland can't ever be first place. Now people are in the chat probably going to say, like, we'll use HyperPanel or whatever. I'm not on a real distro. I can't install it yet. Okay.
The EWWW, whatever.
I did I did a stream on that. I was not successful in actually using it, but it remains the most viewed stream I've ever done is EWW. Like people will watch that thing and will get to the end and have just as little knowledge about EWW as they did before they started the stream, and yet people watch it. I don't understand it. I've never gotten it to work ever. I'm just not smart enough for it. I don't know. It's beyond me. But it also uses SCSS. It doesn't use the entire breadth of CSS, so I'd have just as many problems with that as I have with Waybar. So yes, Qtile is my favorite window manager at the moment. Python is just so stinking good. Like it has all the coolness. The C guys are gonna fucking hate this statement. It has all the coolness of C, but it's not as fiddly as it. You know what I mean? It's more user-friendly than C is. And I think that that's true, but maybe it's just because I've spent way more time with Python than I have C. Like I know quite a bit of C. I was in DWM for a long time. I've done some C coding. C is very old school in the way that it does a lot of things, where Python, excuse me, feels more modern. There's actually not that big of an age gap between them, but at least I don't think so. But still, that's the way it feels to me, and I'm more familiar with it. Haskell's never going to be it, Jake. Just ever, ever. I know you were big on Xmonad there for a little while, right?
I still am. I still like Xmonad. I just fiddled around with my configuration file the other day. I by no means would say I know Haskell, but I can fumble through it. But I would rather fumble through Haskell than Lua any day of the week. I cannot. That's the main reason I absolutely will not use Awesome, is the fact that I don't want to mess around with Lua. I think it's trash. Sorry, but it's good for what it's used for, I guess. But it's just not something I'm interested in playing around with.
I've done an awesome WM like installation script and have what I think is a marginally good awesome WM configuration. It took a lot. It pushed me to my absolute limit in scripting to get what the functionality that I wanted with it. Now, it being from the DWM roots, I will take DWM any day of the week over awesome WM. And I know that people are going to hate this, but that's the truth. I mean, I love DWM. I'm looking at Qtile right now, but if you're looking at the 30 days before the last 3, I was all on DWM. 27 out of 30 days, I was on DWM. So yeah, I'm all about using that C to get what I need out of it, as opposed to the Lua config that has to be, man, that was hard. That was hard for me. I don't know about anybody else, but it was hard for me.
When I said I don't like Haskell and then said I would much rather use Lua, that wasn't an endorsement of Lua. That was just my eternal hatred of Haskell.
No, I get that.
Matt loves Lua.
Yeah.
I'm not putting that on a hat.
That's going to be a Lua dev.
No, absolutely not. So I had to add. I was trying to. Okay, so Darth Vader in the chat. He's in the chat today, I think, also. But when I did my last stream, I was messing around with Waybar. And one of the things I was doing some CSS work, and there's a plugin for Vim that highlights the colors of your CSS. And I wasn't using my actual config, which I didn't know at the time. I thought it was mine, so I was very defensive about it, but it was stupid. I did message to apologize because I was very dismissive of his criticism. But one of the things in my actual config that I didn't have installed was that CSS plugin. And I spent probably 3 hours the other day trying to get that thing to install because the instructions are for VimScript. And I don't know Lua. Like, I will freely admit all of the Lua that I know comes from my NeoVim config. And it's very, very Kickstarter-y, if you know what I mean. So trying to add that plugin took 3 hours. I still didn't get it to work. It just kept running errors over and over again. So I got on there and Googled alternatives to it and found something else that was actually built for LazyVim, and it installed just fine. But my level of confusion was immense during those 3 hours. Like, why isn't this working? Why can't I just say Vim plug install? What was wrong with VimScript? It worked so freaking well. Anyways, I
tried to port my I finally did my custom color scheme from Vim over to Lua so I could have it on NeoVim, and then converted it to Lisp so I could have it on Emacs, and good Lord, both of those are just a nightmare. So I get you.
You guys hear that? We have an Emacs user in the room. Just be very quiet. Don't look.
I'm playing around with it. I'm playing around with it. I'm a NeoVim guy. I'm using NeoVim, but I did find some really really cool things on Emacs that I think I've started to enjoy. But no, I'm still living in NeoVim. Not switched yet.
If you switch over, we can't be friends anymore. I'm just saying that. All right. So So here's my next question. What window manager you wish was better so that you could use it? I'll go to you, Jake, first.
Which window manager do I wish was better? Boy, that's a tough one, because I don't necessarily think any of them are, except for Hyperlin, bad. And no, Hyperlin's not bad. I just prefer not to use it. Anyway, one that's bad or that I wish was better. Okay, I love rat poison. Rat poison is one of my favorites just to play around in. And people were talking about stump. And I tried to use stump one time and was like, this is just utter and total garbage trying to get this to work. So I wish, and it's more a me thing, I wish I could get stump WM to work so I could play around with it. That would be the one that I have failed on, and that's the only window manager I have failed on. I've gotten all the rest of them to work. They might not have been great, but they all worked, and I was able to use them. And Stump was just the one I could not.
Drew, same question to you. What window manager do you wish was better so that you could use it?
That's a tough one. I mean, that's really tough because if you don't enjoy it and it's not getting getting your shit done, then you just kind of move on, don't you? I mean, you just kind of like, yeah, that sucks. And I'm done with it. I don't know that I can like pick one. It's got to be more. It's got to be it's got to be a floating window manager, most likely. Maybe Ice WM, something like that. I thought it had more. I don't know. I thought it had better tools than it does to me, and so Ice WM probably I would prefer it to be better. But then again, I'm much more interested in tiling window managers anyway. I mean, if we're really talking about dreams, I like Jake with Herbs Love WM. I'm hoping that some of these ones that I really love can kind of like make that transition to Wayland. Where like BSPWM has been feature complete for several years. There's been a couple updates, but those have just been bugs. So it's been feature complete probably for 4 or 5 years. That would be like ideal. And yeah, okay, so River WM, and there's some similarities and stuff like that. No, I would prefer if BSPWM or DWM or something like that, even though there is DWL, can make that kind of significant jump from X11 to Wayland. That would be awesome.
Okay. So when I wrote this question, I think I reason why I did it is because I had a specific answer in mind for myself.
And now you forgot?
No. I remember. I do have. I have a tendency to forget things. All right, so my answer to this question is Qtile Wayland. I wish that the Wayland version of Qtile was better so that I could use it, because I would love to be able to use Qtile bar in a Wayland session. The Qtile's bar is so much. You guys you've noticed I have a tendency to bitch about bars a lot. It's just a thing that I do. But I would pay money to be able to use Qtile bar. I think that Qtile's bar is the best bar, maybe outside of Polybar is really, really good. I always have a soft spot for Polybar, but Qtile bar is just better, I think, in so many ways. So I would love to use that in a Wayland session, but it's better than it was, but it's still not there. So that's the one that I wish was better so that I could use it. All right. So my next one is there a window manager that you've used that you just hate or can't stand? So Jake, I'll let you go first again. Is there anyone out there that you just absolutely can't stand to use?
BSP. I mean, no. Yeah, I hate that I just can't stand to use. No, there's none that I'd say I hate and can't stand to use. There are some that I just won't use, not because I hate them. And Hyperland is one of those. My big beef with Hyperland is when you install it and want to use it, it's okay, you need to have this installed now. Now you got Hyper this, and now you got Hyper that. And it's becoming a very intrusive big, and I know a lot of the stuff you don't have to have on there, but it's just, I don't know, it's just becoming too big. It's moving at too fast of a pace, and things just bug out too much. I think the update pace on it and everything is way too fast. I know the guys. This is a great project for this guy. I don't know him. I know everybody talks about him, but I don't know him personally or anything. But I think he's just going way too fast with it. I think he just needs to slow down and let things sit for a while before he adds some cool new feature and this and that. And I don't know if it's just him or if he's got contributors or whatever. I know the guys that did the plugins, he's got contributors for that and everything. But as far as the actual main program, the Hyperland itself, I mean, I've had it installed a couple times, and it's like my config doesn't work one time, and then it does the next, and then it doesn't again because he's changed the way something is written in the configuration file, and it's like, okay, you gotta cool it, man. Just you need to cool it. So, and I get it. It's Wayland. It's new. It's flashy. It's great. It's everywhere on Reddit, and everybody loves it, and it's the cat's meow. But probably if I want to be on Wayland, I'll be on, like I said, I'm on Nuri right now. I'm enjoying it. There's a few bugs, but it's been great. I'll choose that over Hyperland any day. I mean, I'm able to actually create my own animations on Nuri. I mean, I literally write from scratch, so I can have my animations do what I want. I don't need animations, but I just think it's kind of cool that I don't just have a fade in, fade out, or a certain curve I can use. I have my windows fall off of my screen right now. So I mean, there's just cool stuff you can do with it, and it's flashy. It's a bit much. I'm enjoying playing around in it, but it'll be good to get back to Herbie because it's stable. It's plain Jane, but it works, and I'm not bothered by all the animations and everything. But no, yeah. So Hyperland, I'd say Hyperland. Hyperland is one I just won't use.
I would like to say the Hyperland that it's better now, and it is better now than it used to be in terms of the constantly breaking stuff. But it hasn't been more than a couple months since he changed the window rule nomenclature, so I can't say that things don't still break. So maybe once it's gone 6 months without something breaking, I can say that, but still, yeah. Drew, what about you?
First of all, shameless plug. Jake did a 10-minute installation for Hyperland maybe a week ago or something like that. Shameless plug for Jake. Anyway, so DT's not in the chat, so that makes me want to say Xmonad. The one that I just won't use. And sorry, Jake, I know that it's like, it might be a little soft. I can't do it. I just cannot get my head around using and enjoying Xmonad. And I that's all I'm going to say about that. I just can't do it. And why does it have to install like a million packages for Haskell in order for it to work? It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of imports there.
Huh?
I said, yeah, there's a lot of imports there. I think my import section of my config file is about as long as the file itself.
So my answer to this question is also Xmonad. No, not surprising there. So I've run Xmonad for some periods of time, and the problem I have with Xmonad beyond anything else is that I will get just good enough at Haskell during my time at using it and then decide something's wrong and I can't fix it to move away from it. Right now, if you asked me to install Xmonad and use it, I would have no clue what I was doing. Like every little bit of Haskell knowledge that I had, which was not great to begin with, is gone out of my brain. Like I completely rubbed it clear. It's just completely gone. So yeah, it has to be Xmonad. It's weird because I think that because DT made his videos about Xmonad and it looked so cool. There's like a lot of stuff you can do with it, and he swears by Haskell and stuff like that. So I see, idolize DT a little bit. So I want to be able to use this thing, and I just can't do it. It's just not for me. Like, and I'm not scared of programming languages. Like I'll dive into C. I've dived into Python. I'll grudgingly use Lua if I have to. It may take me 3 hours to install a plugin, but I'll do it. Haskell just makes me want.
Loves Lua.
No, absolutely not. Haskell just makes me want to beat my head up against the desk. I just can't figure it out. So yeah, Xmonad is my answer as well. So I have one more question for you guys. Just random. Probably should ask this first. Dynamic or manual, which is your preference? Jake?
Well, considering Herps is my favorite and it's a manual tiler, I like the manual tiler, but I did actually program in the master and stack setup, so I guess I'll have to say dynamic.
Okay. Drew, what about you? Dynamic or manual?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter to me. I mean, I guess dynamic probably. I mean, so with BSPWM, there's the element where it's pre-selection, stuff like that. Yeah, I don't use it. So I guess it behaves like a dynamic tiler, and I set some rules for it to be in certain parts. It's like, hey, I want to spawn to the east, for example. So you can kind of like, massage the config to do what you want to do. So anyway, yeah, I would say dynamic, but neither one really scares me away. So
there was a time period where I would have told, before I used Qtile probably, that I would have told you that manual was like the only way to use it. Like that was the only window manager type that you could use, and I'd be happy with it, right? Because I was an i3 guy, and i3 is like the premier manual tiler, right? Like everything spawns in the same direction unless you tell it to do otherwise. But now, even these days, when I use i3, I have an auto tiling script that just turns it into a dynamic tiler, and that's not because I necessarily prefer to dynamic tiling. It's just I'm lazy. Like I want this thing just to appear in a pattern of some kind. Like I don't even really care what pattern it shows up in, just as long as it shows up in something that can stay readable for 3 or 4 windows. And dynamic seems to do that better than the just constant, horizontal spawning of windows. So yeah, I guess I would have to say dynamic as well. All right.
So let me ask you a question. Since you're a Qtile user, Matt, which layout is your kind of like go-to layout for Qtile?
Monad tall.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So basically the same thing that Jake's running with.
Yeah,
with herbs left.
it's master stack. Every once in a while, I'll switch to monocle, and that's basically the one where they're all stacked on top of each other, and you can just kind of go through them. It's kind of like having the tabs in i3. Like if you ever use i3, it has the ability to tab things.
Yeah.
That's kind of like that, but that's very rare these days. Like now I'm much more interested in having a ton of workspaces so everything can have its own window. That's basically where I'm at. Like give me 17 workspaces, I'm a happy man. Yeah.
Tell you what, Matt, that's my thing exactly. Even though I like the master and stack, I usually don't have more than 2 windows open at any point in time anyway, because then you just get too small and too cluttered. And sales pitch for Nuri, that's one of the things I love about it, is it's infinite workspaces. You can size the windows and have a couple on the screen at a time. You can go a mile long with windows. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, that is the big selling point that's kept me there right now, is the fact that I can just have all my windows full screen and just scroll over to them.
You had me at all unlimited workspaces. Like
Unlimited.
like you said that, like,
and I kid you not, it is unlimited. You can go and go and go, and it just keeps on adding on and adding on. You have vertical different rows. You can have as many rows as you want. So if you did like workspace 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, those are going to be your rows, but each workspace is an infinite length. So you open a window, and when you spawn the next one, it just scrolls it out of the way, opens another window, scrolls it out of the way, and you can actually go up to the corner of the window, and it'll expo view, it'll bring everything down so you can see all your windows, and you can select one, kind of like GNOME does, I think, or you can just scroll through them. I mean, each row can be as long as you want it, and you can have as many rows as you want. It's amazing.
So there's somebody in the chat trying to tell us that they're not called dynamic and manual anymore.
Yeah, but we knew what you meant, so
you kids and renaming stuff just because us old guys call things a certain way. Easy there.
Well, inform us. What are they then? If they're not manual and dynamic, what do we got?
They said
what are we now?
list-based and tree-based.
Tree-based.
Technically, tree-based is actually what dynamic used to be called, like ages and ages.
Well, that's what
nobody calls it that. Okay.
Yeah, that's what Herb's Lifts calls it, is tree-based. But
slow your roll, boomer. Okay. All right. He went from Gen Z to a boomer really fast. All right.
Oh.
All right. Anyway, so that's going to be it for our discussion. We're going to move on to our Nuggie of the week because we are running up on an hour, and Matt has to edit this week, and I don't want to have to edit an hour and a half podcast. I think that's a reasonable thing to move on to. All right. So our Nuggies of the week are our section where we can basically choose a pick or a trick or basically whatever you want to share with everybody. So Jake, your Nuggie of the week.
My Nuggie of the week is something I actually just discovered recently. As I'm getting on in years, I find that I forget commands I've run recently. And, you got the history command from the terminal and Control R to do an incremental search and everything, but those just didn't quite cut it. So there's this new program out there. Well, not real new, but it's fairly maintained. I think it was made a couple years ago. It's called McFly. And it keeps your bash history but it also creates a database of all your commands, and it actually monitors what directory you're in. So if you hit Control R with McFly enabled, it will actually prioritize commands that were run in that directory prior, because they figure you're going to run those same commands. It does everything it can to actually get the most logical command that you would be looking for towards the top of the list, so you're not scrolling forever. You do have the scroll menu. You can scroll down and actually just hit enter on a command, and it will run it. You can hit tab on a command to actually edit it and then run it. It's really cool, and it just really makes the whole forgetting my commands thing a thing of the past.
Drew, your Nuggie of the week.
So this is going to be maybe my worst Nuggie of the week up until this point. It's a Firefox extension, and it's just called copy plain text. So, you just if you're highlighting something and then you right click, there is a thing now, that will be copy in plain text. And that way I can just kind of like throw it into something else. It's a simple thing to do, but it takes one step out. Like if I copy it and then throw it into Genie or something like that, which removes all of its kind of attributes, and then have to like copy and out of that and then paste it somewhere else. Anyway, it just allows you to just copy the web page in plain text. So that's my Nuggie of the week.
I may be wrong, and this is not true if you use Vivaldi, but I think in Firefox, if you hit Control-Shift-V, it copies in plain text.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay.
Don't quote it. Yeah. That's the way that it used to be. It may not be that way anymore, but I'm pretty sure that's what it used to be. So yeah, in Vivaldi,
I said it was my worst one, Matt. You don't have to like throw it in my face now. I mean.
No. In Vivaldi, no, it's fine because you might need it like in Vivaldi, because Vivaldi remaps Control-Shift-V to notes. So like if you do that, it takes a note. Why they did that, I don't know. It's weird. All right, so mine's like mine's a petty Nuggie of the week, because I spent a crazy amount of time this week trying to get Yazzie up and running to the point where I could actually use it. So that meant going through and trying to get a whole bunch of key bindings the way that I needed. And I was mostly successful. It took me a long time because of the way that it tries to override the ones that come default, and you have to do things in a certain way, otherwise it doesn't take effect. It's really weird. I just want to use my own configuration file, but it still listens to the old one. I don't know what I'm talking about half of the time anyways, but it just confused the crap out of me. So it took me a while. I got the key bindings in there, and then the key binding that I chose to change a wallpaper, for whatever reason, just hangs. Like it just sits there and says working, 99% working at the bottom all the time. I use SWW to change my wallpapers. I don't know what it's doing. Maybe there's something in the background that just doesn't work between the two of them. I don't know. I couldn't get it to work. It only worked about 20% of the time. The rest of the time it did that. So I was like, screw you. I'm going back to Ranger. So Ranger is my Nuggie of the week. It's old. It's in Python, so people will tell you that it's slow. I don't personally think that it's slow. Like I haven't noticed it's being slower than Yazzie, but then I don't notice. I use Zipper for a living, guys. Okay, it is slow. So I just didn't notice it. So anyways, Ranger is my Nuggie of the week. It remains the best terminal file manager ever, as far as I'm concerned. They're just, none of them do as good. The config file is really easy to do. Like it's just human readable, so you don't have to worry about C or TOML or YAML or any of that nonsense. You just go in there and you change a key binding, you're done with it. It's very, very good. So Ranger is
try FCFM.
Was that yours?
Yeah. Yep.
Call me when it's done. All right. So Jake, tell us where people can find you.
Well, you can find me on my YouTube channel, Jake at Linux. You can find me on my email, jpedmedia.com. It should be in the notes there. Contact me at jake@jpedmedia.com.
All right, so if you guys go to his YouTube channel, he's not actually Jake at Linux, because YouTube is fussy with their @ signs. So he's just at Jake Linux, capital J, capital L. So the link is pinned in the chat and will be in the notes below. So I just want to make sure if people go to youtube.com/Jake at Linux, they're going to get a 404 error. So just go over there, subscribe to his channel. He makes void content and scripting content. Lately, You're like Drew. You've been streaming. Like, did you become Gen Z all of a sudden? I'm just. Are you gonna create?
I discovered the world of streaming. It's enjoyable. It's fun. People actually, it's interesting talking to people. I like to talk to people and just to sit here and have people get on there. And I don't get any work done like Drew does when he's streaming. I'm just sitting there chatting with people. But yeah, it's only been a couple times. I've only done it a couple times, but it's fun.
I just like make fun of people's stream because I don't do it nearly often enough. Drew is Just a Guy Linux on YouTube. You guys should head on over to his channel as well. He also is now a streamer, but he also does videos on Debian and scripting and self-hosting and all sorts of stuff. So if you are interested in any of that stuff, go ahead and subscribe to his channel as well. The two boys who are not here don't get pimped out because they aren't here. So you guys want your channels put out there, join the podcast. No, I'm kidding. Anyways, I am at the Linux Cast on YouTube, as you guys all know. If you're watching live, we record this live every Tuesday at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Normally, we are never on time, but we're sometimes close to the time, and usually it's always my fault. Anyways, make sure you're subscribed, hit the like button, all that stuff. You can contact us, email at what is it with the ending that always fucks me up? I don't understand it. Like every single week, this fucks me up. Like I don't get it. I think it's just like I'm ready to get out of here and I need this stuff. Anyways, you can contact us. Email at thelinuxcast.org. Those were the words that I was looking forward to say. Like they're just like I'm completely gone. I'm
focus, Matt.
done.
Focus.
I threw the hat. Like I'm done. It's like what was that football coach that whenever something really bad happened, he threw his visor down on the ground? Was that Steve Spurrier? Was that that guy's
Spurrier.
name?
University of Florida.
Anyways, linuxcast.org/contact is where you can find all of our contact information, Mastodon, Patreon, all that stuff. Head on over there, check that stuff out. The website is where you can find all the previous episodes all the way back to season 1 if you want to binge all that stuff. I promise you the ending has not gotten better since season 1. It's just literally exactly the same. Matt loses his damn mind, can't say words in order to save his life. It's a tradition at this point. If I did a good ending, it would be like seeing Bigfoot or Sasquatch or something. Like nobody would believe it. Anyways, that's it for this week. If you can't watch us live, we do post this every Saturday evenings, the edited version. Usually edited by Mr. Nate. This week it will be edited by me. So if you notice a whole bunch more ums than normal, that's because I just left those fuckers in there. So, he's way more patient than I am with the ums. So, there you go. Anyways, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you, Jake, so much for joining us. We really appreciate having you. We had a good time.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see everybody next time.